हाँ आ गया सर आ गया डॉक्टर बलराज।
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. We'll be just starting in a bit, sir.
Not a problem, madam.
All right.
Knowledge rooted in tradition becomes transformative when integrated with modern innovation. With the blessing of our Honorable Founder President, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, our respective Chancellor, Dr. Atul Chauhan, and the constant encouragement of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Balwinder Shukla, the MIT School of Economics is proud to organize the 9th National Conference under the theme Integrating Diverse Indigenous Knowledge System for Dynamic Advancement of SDGs, a global and inclusive approach. Honorable guests, respective session chair, scholars, and participants. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the track 2. IKS enabled digital finance and accounting, inclusion, sustainability, and transparency. In today's rapidly evolving global economy, the integration of indigenous knowledge system with modern financial technologies present a unique opportunity to create more inclusive, sustainable, and transparent financial ecosystem. Traditional knowledge systems have long emphasized principles such as ethical financial practices, community-based resource management, and responsible economic behavior. Digital finance today plays a transformative role in ensuring that financial service reach undeserved population, enabling transparency in transaction and fostering economic empowerment. By integrating indigenous knowledge values with technological advancement, we can build financial systems that are not only efficient but also ethical, inclusive, and sustainable. Today's track aims to explore intersection and generate meaningful discussion on how IKS informed financial framework can contribute to global sustainability goals.
To guide us through this insightful session, we are honored to have two distinguished session chairs who bring with them extensive academic expertise and valuable research experience. First, it is my privilege to introduce Dr. Balraj Verma, our esteemed session chair for this track, who will be joining us online today. Dr. Balraj Verma is an accomplished academician and researcher with over 18 years of combined academic and corporate experience. He is currently serving as Associate Professor at the Doctoral Research Center, Chitkara Business School, Chitkara University, and also as a Research Fellow at INTI International University, Malaysia. With 47 Scopus Index scholarly contributions, including journal articles, books, and book chapters published with leading international publishers such as Elsevier, Emerald, and Taylor and Francis, his work reflects significant contribution to contemporary research. His expertise includes areas such as human-computer interaction, technology adoption in retail and financial services, AI ethics, consumer behavior towards digital devices, and advanced econometric analysis. We are truly honored to have Dr. Balraj Verma with us today to chair this session and provide valuable insights that will enrich our discussion.
Thank you very much, Beta.
Welcome, Dr. Balraj. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our second session chair, Dr. Ila Chaturvedi. Dr. Ila Chaturvedi is a distinguished academician and economist with over 2 decades of experience in teaching, research, and academic leadership in the fields of economics and management. She holds a PhD in economics from MJP Rohilkhand University, Bareilly, and completed her master's in economics as a gold medalist. She has served at several reputed academy institutions, including Amity University, Noida, Jaipuria Institute of Management, Ghaziabad, IIMT Management College, Meerut, Jyoti Institute of Management, Hyderabad, and is currently associated with Amity University and NMIMS School of Continuing Education as visiting faculty of economics. Dr. Chaturvedi has published numerous research papers in national and international journals and is also author of the book Business Environment published by Galgotia Publishing House. A life member of Indian Economic Association, she has actively contributed to academic development through teaching, research conferences coordination, and mentoring students in their dissertation work. We are privileged to have Dr. Ila Chaturvedi as co-chair of this session, and we look forward to valuable guidance and perspective throughout the discussion. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Ila Chaturvedi. I would now like to invite our faculty coordinator, Dr. Roshna Arora, and our conference convener, Dr. Neeru Sedana, to kindly come forward and present our esteemed guests with a sapling and a gesture of gratitude and appreciation.
Without further delay, let us begin with the paper presentations. Each participant will be allotted 7 minutes for presentation, 3 minutes for the question and answer round. The evaluation will be based on the following criteria: relevance to the theme, content, research methodology, presentation skill, question and answer round. Each criteria carries 5 marks, making a total of 25 marks. Kindly note that after 5 minutes, we will signal you to start concluding your presentation, as the total time allotted for the presentation or presenting your PPT is 7 minutes.
Beta, it's I think total of 20 marks if I'm not wrong. Not 25.
Yes, sir. Sorry, it's 20 marks. 20 marks, sir. 20. Now, I would like to invite our first presenter, who will be presenting online on the topic From Financial Access to Effective Usage, a thematic analytical study of digital financial inclusion and indigenous knowledge system. Achal? Ma'am, are you ready?
Yes, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. We will
Okay, thank you.
see right now. You can start then.
Okay.
Sir, ma'am, is the PPT visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Hello, Dr. Barat, is it visible?
Yes, it is, madam.
All right, so we'll start now.
Sure.
Ma'am, you can start presenting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Aanchal, and I am a research scholar at JIT Noida, and I am pursuing PhD under the supervision of Dr. Sakshi Vashne and Dr. Deepak Verma. Though my research topic is not on this financial inclusion and thematic analysis, the indigenous knowledge system, my main research is on behavioral finance, but I want to make a little contribution on this topic, so I just made a little study on it. So let's start with the introduction. So like over the past decade, financial inclusion has extended rapidly through digital banking, mobile payments, and government-led policy initiatives. So if we check the World Bank Global Index database, global account ownership increased from 51% in 2011 to about 76% in 2021. That has been a latest survey by the Global Index database by World Bank. So in countries such as India, large-scale initiatives like Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana has brought millions of previously excluded individuals into the formal financial system. However, many new opened accounts remain inactive and used only for limited transactions, revealing an important challenge known as the excess usage gap. So if we talk about the research problem, next slide, please. Yes. So over the past decade, financial inclusion policies have significantly increased access to formal financial services through bank accounts and digital payments. So however, access does not necessarily translate into regular and meaningful financial usage. So, many individuals who have financial account continue to use them infrequently, rely on cash, or engage only on basic digital transactions. This divergence between financial access and effective participation is referred to as the access usage gap. Actually, in this paper, we have tap the gap between the financial services availability and usage of these services. So the research gap. Existing financial inclusion research largely focused on measurable indicators such as account ownership and digital transaction growth. However, these indicators do not fully capture actual financial participation and behavioral engagement. Most financial literature models emphasize awareness and knowledge, but they often fail to translate into sustained financial behavior. Limited research has explored social, behavioral, and trust-based mechanisms that influence the transactions from financial access to effective usage. The potential role of IKS is strengthening financial capability and participation remain unexplored. The research objective of this paper is to examine the excess usage gap in digital financial inclusion, to analyze behavioral and institutional factors that influence the effective usage of financial services, and to evaluate the financial inclusion trend using secondary financial indicators such as account ownership, digital transaction, and complaint statistics, and to explore the potential role of IKS in strengthening the financial capability and financial participation. So the methodology, next slide please. Methodology of this paper, we have used thematic analytical interdisciplinary research approach to examine the excess usage gap. The major data source that we have included in our study is a report from World Bank Global Index database that has shown that is used to show the financial access trends. Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana statistics for financial inclusion expansion in India, and RBI UPI transaction data, and RBI Ombudsman complaint report for institutional friction indicators. Next slide, please. Analytical framework. So excess usage gap, we have shown this to divergence between to analyze the divergence between excess account ownership and active financial participation. For the DUA, digital usage acceleration, we will check the growth in digital payment transaction and with the help of IFI, we will check the barriers reflected through complaint statistics. So together, these indicators reveal whether financial inclusion initiative translate into meaningful financial engagement or remain limited to infrastructure expansion. Next slide. So global financial inclusion trends. So if we talk about globally, we are using Global Index database that I have privately tell in this in the slide that from 2011.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. This is to let you know that 5 minutes have passed and you have 2 minutes left to conclude your presentation.
Okay. So this is the digital financial usage that has been increasing rapidly, and UPI transactions are on. Next, please. You can continue to next slide. Okay, digital financial usage. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, so we can see the UPI transaction also that has been exponentially increased, and the gap also we can say that. Okay, I will conclude the PPT at last. So over the past decade, financial inclusion initiative have successfully expanded financial access through banking infrastructure and digital financial technologies. However, evidence from global and national indicators suggests that financial access does not automatically translate into meaningful financial usage or participation. The persistence of excess usage gap highlight the role of behavioral, institutional, and trust-related factors in shaping financial engagement. And bridging this gap requires a shift from infrastructure-focused inclusion policies towards approaches that strengthen the financial capability, institutional trust, and community-based learning system. So at last, I would say true financial inclusion occurs not when people have accounts, but when they actively and confidently participate in financial systems. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presentation, ma'am. We will now have a brief question and answer session. I request our esteemed chairs to kindly share their observations or questions.
Okay. uh, the topic which you have chosen is good, and presentation was also nice. However, can you tell us that how many research paper you have gone through to have this research?
Sir, actually, I've just checked the reports, the latest reports through the government, like using RBI and the UPI transactions, and very least and few papers I have studied for that, like 20 to 25 papers. Those are latest, and to find out that I have mainly went with the study of Demarcunes and Content 2022 study. So according to those studies, I have built that paper.
Because that is quite evident that your claim is very short of reality. Though the gaps which you have identified, you can take it as an observation of ours that the gaps which you have identified are not the actual gaps, because that has been addressed very enormously already. So
Okay.
because of that, when I ask you,
Okay,
second
sir.
observation of mine is that mere transporting information from one report or one particular set of data to some other places will not make it a research, right? So there
Okay,
has to
okay.
be a systematic effort and a particular inquiry, and in fact your intent to do something meaningfully. And you said that it's a thematic analysis. In any way, it is not a thematic analysis, because for that you need to completely follow the qualitative approach of research, where again you have a very systematic way of executing that. So that is it. That's this is it from my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Hello, Achal. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Achal, what I have seen is that you have completely done the macroeconomic study.
Yes, ma'am.
Microeconomic approach you have used in that?
Yes,
Related
ma'am.
to
Ma'am,
gender disparity or any, age differences which you have got?
ma'am, those accounts are based on adults. The study that Global Findex database has used the adults that is more than 18%, 80,
So better, I think.
18 year of old,
Question
more
I
than 18-year-old.
understand the behavior of different age groups, different gender, in order to write a complete research paper. Otherwise, it's a nice effort.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. I will keep in mind.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your presentation. Now we would like to call our next presenter, which is Dr. Vandita Srivastav, who will be presenting online on the topic the effect of financial inclusion on rural household income in Uttar Pradesh.
Thank you, ma'am. Just to correct, I'm not a doctor yet. My name is Vandita Srivastav only. So, and I'm a PhD scholar trying to turn into to get that doctorate degree. But thank you for that. And in the interest of time, I will try to keep the presentation short. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I will be presenting on the effect of financial inclusion on rural household income in Uttar Pradesh. Madam, can you move on to the next slide, please? Thank you. Financial inclusion has become central pillar of economic development policy globally, particularly in emerging market economies such as India. While access has expanded rapidly, as observed from over 56 crore bank accounts under PMJDY, the question remains whether the access has improved economic outcomes such as income, particularly for the rural areas. Can we go to the next slide, please, ma'am? These interventions, such as PMJDY direct benefit transfers, not only deliver welfare benefits but also help integrate rural households into formal financial systems. Greater institutional savings over time can be channeled into productive uses such as education, skill development, financial investments, small enterprise creation, in addition to regular consumption needs. This study aims to assess the relationship between financial inclusion and rural household income using the NABARD All India Rural Financial Inclusion Survey for 2016-17 and 2022. Madam, can you move on to the next slide, please? I will briefly touch on the research gaps. Existing research highlights that financial inclusion is not uniform and it varies across regions due to differences in infrastructure, literacy, social norms, and economic opportunities. So this study, we have tried to use we have tried to quantify the impact of financial inclusion on household income, particularly for the rural areas. Madam, next slide, please. The objective of the study is what is the impact of the penetration of institutional savings on the average monthly income of rural households in India, and secondly, whether this impact differs for the state of Uttar Pradesh. The study is based on the secondary data using the NAFIS reports for 2016-17 and 2022, and we use the analysis using two indicators. The first indicator is the proportion of saver households with at least one member reporting savings with any institution in the last 1 year, and the average monthly income per household. Can we move on to the next slide, please, ma'am? The study employs a state-level fixed panel regression model, and the average monthly income for rural household is the dependent variable, and the percentage of rural households with institutional savings is the independent variable. So to examine whether UP behaves differently, we have included an interaction term between institutional savings and a UP dummy. The baseline coefficient captures the national average effect, while the interaction terms measures how the UP effect deviates from the national average. Madam, can we move on to the next slide, please? So here we are just going to talk about the findings from the NAFIS report itself. The NAFIS study shows that there is a rise in the average monthly household income across all states. High income states such as Punjab, Haryana, Goa, Kerala are at the top. They were in the top in both the years 2016-17 and 2021-2022. Uttar Pradesh has also witnessed a 60% growth in household income. However, this increase has not materially improved its ranking among the states, which has changed only from 26th rank in FY 2017 to 24th rank in FY 2022. Madam, next slide, please. The in terms of the institutional saving coverage, the range is wide. In 2016-17, the range was 16 to 92%, which has improved significantly in 2021-2022 and is now in the range of 57 to 100%. The median institutional savings has also increased from 52 to 93.5%. And for Uttar Pradesh, there is also substantial improvement observed with coverage rising from 37% to 97%. While institutional savings have moved close to universal coverage, income growth continues to exhibit a divergence across state. This suggests that financial inclusion has successfully delivered access, but its translation into income enhancement is uneven. And Uttar Pradesh is showing this clear contrast. Madam, on the next slide, please. In view of this, we have employed a fixed effect regression, and the results show a strong statistically significant relationship between institutional savings coverage and average monthly household income.
Ma'am,
Madam, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. This is to let you know 55 minutes have passed. You have 2 minutes left to conclude your presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. I have 2 slides left. I'll try to close it in 2 minutes. The coefficient is around 106, implying that a 1 percentage point increase in coverage is associated with a rupees 106 rise in average monthly household income. For the UP interaction term, this indicate it is 43 rupees lower than the national effect. Thus, we can say that for UP, the impact is rupees 63 per 1 percentage point increase in savings coverage. This highlights that formal savings is linked to higher rural household incomes, supporting role of financial inclusion in improving overall well-being. But the impact for UP is relatively weaker compared to the other states. This we had tried to find out what could be the possible from the existing research, the possible gaps where UP could be figuring lower in terms of the quantification. So we observed that UP has a lower financial literacy index as per a study done by Dash and Ranjan. There are some caste-based disparities as well. Another study done by Tiwari, Goli, Dicky, and Salvi, and the general lower levels of economic development and earning opportunities, which further moderate the savings to income transition. To summarize, the analysis shows a strong and statistically significant evidence that greater penetration of institutional savings boosts rural household income across India. However, the impact in UP is 40% weaker than the national average. These results highlight the importance that financial inclusion agenda is important, and there is a need to advance it and expand it from access to meaningful usage for financial services. Towards this, we can have targeted policy refinement, strengthening financial literacy initiatives, designing products suited for low-income households, and improving last-mile delivery through a branch expansion, business correspondent networks, and enhancing digital infrastructure and evaluation frameworks so that adaptive financial inclusion strategies can be implemented for rural areas. Thank you. And sorry for rushing a little.
Thank you for your presentation, ma'am. Brief question and answer session. With
Yeah,
our-
it's a nice presentation.
Thank you.
Though the see, I do not want to be that candid, but this financial inclusion, I do not know why people are still taking this topic, because it's already too exhaustive. So I would encourage all the upcoming researcher to find out some niche area where they can explore things and add, meaningfully to the literature. Having said that, the data which you have used is a kind of old data. It's up to just 2022, and if not 2026, because data must not be in the public domain, but still at least up to 24 or 25, yeah, that can be utilized. Second observation is that the time period for, because ultimately all these time series based data, they are based on all these applications based upon trends and all, seasonality, cyclic nature, and then trends. And for that, 5 years of data is again too short to get some meaningful inference out of it. So it is an advice that in your maybe for your research purpose, you must have taken a bigger time period, and that is advisable. And then in your model, it's a linear regression model. If you would have taken certain meaningful control variables like maybe state GDP, or maybe some other micro or macro variables which could contribute meaningfully, and controlling their effect may get you some more meaningful results. So that is another advice from my side. Otherwise, it's a good attempt and a nice presentation.
Thank you so much, sir. And your advice is duly noted, sir. I will definitely improve on it. Thank you so much, sir.
All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Vandita.
Hello, ma'am. Good
Uh,
afternoon.
In your slide, you have said that UP is having a low financial literacy index, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you suggest some policy implications for that? What can be done?
So, ma'am, in my view, right now the business correspondent network is quite wide across India, and particularly in UP and rural areas. I think there is while they are currently focused more on the transaction part of the things, there should be dedicated camps organized by BC itself on a weekly or a fortnightly basis, so that their upcoming government schemes or the benefits of financial inclusion can be communicated to the rural households, the people, women, in their local languages as well. I think that will improve the financial literacy, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, can you name 2, 3 schemes?
Ma'am, 2, 3 schemes. I think one would be particularly the SHG bank linkage program. So that is again done by NABARD. So we have that. Then there is Lakpati Didi scheme, which is also under DNRLM. And these two are the ones that are coming to my mind on immediate basis, ma'am.
Fine. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, ma'am. Next presenter is Shivani Rana, who will be presenting offline on the topic Trend Analysis of Maternal Health Indicators, NFHS 345.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Nishalani.
Good afternoon.
So thank you for having me here today. My name is Shivani Rana, and I'm a full-time PhD scholar of Amity School of Economics. Today, I'll be presenting my research on trend analysis of maternal health indicators, NFHS 3, 4, and 5, basically from 2005 to 2021. So let's move on to our introduction. So this research analyzes institutional delivery and antenatal care across the 3 major NFHS surveys for 14 states. What we found is remarkable. India achieved universal delivery coverage with every single state crossing 85% by NFHS 5. However, we also uncovered a critical quality crisis. Nationally, 42% of women still miss the WHO minimum of 4 ANC. Delhi leads by 74.3% ANC, while the Jharkhand trails at the 48.3%. So in the global context, India's maternal health transformation is actually a global success story. We reduced MMR from 254 per deaths per 100,000 live births to 2004 to 97 by 2018. That's a 62% decline. And even better, SDG 3 target is by 70, and by 2030 we can achieve that. We are already at the 97. The transformation begins from the JSY, that is Janani Suraksha Yojana in 2005, which launched on April 12 by the PM under the NHM. JSY provided cash incentives. Okay. So, I was at the JSY. So JSY provided cash incentives of 1,400 rupees for the rural BPL, SC and ST women, and 700 for urban women. Basically, specifically to promote hospital deliveries and reduce home births. Then the Janani JSSK came. That was launched in 2011. JSSK made maternal care completely free for everyone, C-sections, normal delivery, newborn care, everything. Then the PMSMA, in which the antenatal care is specified for 1 day of every month, that is 9th. Moving on to that, in this, we can see that the impact highlight the institutional delivery in NFHS 3 was 38.7%, but in NFHS 5, that is nationally, is 88.6%. And the MMR rate is maternal mortality rate went from 254 to 97. Then in the literature review, we can see the existing literature showed that JSY increased deliveries and 47 points among rural SC/ST women And the MMR reduction is a an estimated 25% MMR reduction in high focus states. JSSK cut the delivery cost from 3,197 to practically zero. Then the PMSA, which increased the 18-fold in high-risk screening. So what are the research objectives? It's to basically assess the improvements of 4+ ANC visits, to analyze institutional delivery, and to compare the top and bottom 5 states. Then we have the research methodology. I took all my data from National Family Health Survey, NFHS, and accumulated all of them here. So let's move on to our NFHS evidence base. In NFHS 2005 to 6, JSY baseline was 3.87% delivery, 38.7% delivery. And the NFHS 4, when JSY and JSSK were both launched, it went to 78.9%. And in NFHS 5, the PMSMA era, the institutional delivery went to 88.6%. And these were the 14 states I took in this. And after that, these other state, this May, 4+ ANC visit ranking theme, in which we can see that the Tamil Nadu was first and the last was Jharkhand. And after a certain point, it went from from NFHS 3 to 4 to 5, it all Tamil Nadu ranked the first and the Jharkhand ranked the last. And even in the NFHS 3, 4, we can see the same pattern. Then in the institutional delivery rankings, Tamil Nadu still remained the same in the first, and Jharkhand remained the last. Then we have the NFHS 3 ANC and institutional delivery. Then after that, basically, the ANC and institutional delivery, we were able to get the institutional delivery up to 85%, whereas we are still struggling with ANC. So why these gaps still persist when it comes to ANC? Because higher parental education played important role. Women whose parents were educated, they were able to get the ANC instead of the parents who were not well educated. And the women were excluded from the decision-making process. Low education and household level, women with no education are least likely, and not because they are not aware, because low education limits their ability to understand why the visit is important. Then the second is lack of women autonomy. A woman cannot simply decide to visit a health facility. She needs a permission from her partner or her in-laws. Then leads to invisibility from the media and health messaging. Basically, the women with no exposure to television or print media miss the health promoting messages. And the last is unplanned pregnancies and weak family planning integration. Women who did not want their pregnancy and women who were not using contraceptives are both significantly and less likely to complete 4 or more ANC visits. This reveals that ANC uptake is downstream of family planning engagement. A woman who never engaged with the reproductive health system for contraceptive is also unlikely to engage with it for parental care, prenatal care, basically. So these are my policy recommendations for this. So basically, we can expand our 9th specialist to every day. So the women doesn't have to come on the 9th. They can visit anytime they want. And the OBGYN should be present on the place. And the deployment of the ANC units, GPS tracked vehicles. Then we have IFA compliance, that the ASHA workers should get incentives for the tablets. They are currently getting it for the pregnant women if they are taking them to the care. And then we have the continuity tracking. ANC should be tracked through QR codes. So if the real-time dropouts are happening, they can track at that time. And then we have school maternal health modules. We can teach them as early as possible that it is easy for them to ask for something in the future. And then we have primary health center functionality. So we can do the quarterly OBGYN attendance verification. So thank you so much for my...
Good job, Shivani. I just have single question. How is your paper related to this theme of the conference?
It is not that much related, but we need to understand about the maternal health also, as long as we are living in this country where it is important to understand the maternal health is related somehow.
So all the improvement which you have shown in the fifth part, that all are going to be sustainable in the long term?
Yes, They are government is working on this policy recommendations. May somehow they are interrelated. There are few things that are connected to that, and there are few things we can also add.
Uh, Sir, would you?
Madam Shivani Rana,
Yes,
are
sir.
you a PhD research scholar or a master's student?
Sir, I am a PhD research scholar.
Okay. If that is so, then tell me what is your contribution in this research?
So I am currently working in the maternal health sector basically for my PhD thesis. And from that, I picked this topic out. Right now, this research was basically on secondary data, but the thesis I'm working on is on primary data. So it is work in progress right now.
So my question is very simple, that you have used certain sources and you have taken data and interpreted those data as per your own requirement. But what exactly you have done means what indicators you have taken, because when you are taking data from two, three different sources, at least because you are going to compare them to the proxy or the indicators which you are going to use must be the same one. So what are those indicators?
But I don't understand your question right now. I'm sorry.
So for which indicator you have, you got this data?
Sir, from NFHS.
That is the source.
Yeah.
But what is the parameter or the indicator or proxy?
So basically, they had a survey, and the indicators came from there, from the 4+ ANC visits and the IFA tablets and the institutional delivery. The indicators were presented by them.
So my last observation and suggestion to you is that please try to understand the beauty of research. Try to learn about research methodology. Research is very systematic, very systematic. So you have concluded so much, so many different things through your presentation, which are not even part of your objective, I think. So women exclusion, low education, then no exposure to TV and social media and so on. Then you talked about QR coding and so many different things. So see, research is very specific. You have a very precise and specific objectives, and your intent is to fulfill that only. And you will conclude your study in such a way that what all you have taken in the model, that only you can say, and that only you can infer or conclude. You cannot take everything into that, because ultimately you can be a good teacher but not a good researcher then, right? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shivani. Our next presenter is going to be Sanjam Singh, who will be presenting online on the topic Economic Impact of Gender and Diversity Gaps in STEM, Evidence from India and OECD countries.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
All right. Good morning to one and all. So, my topic, as introduced, is bridging the economic impact of gender and diversity gaps in STEM. So, basically, I would like to say that I chose this topic because it is something very personal to me and my research. The countries I have visited for this specific research would be Paris, and Switzerland, Europe, basically, and Canada as well. That's why I chose this specific term, OECD countries. So let me start with my topic. All right. Gender inequality and diversity gaps in STEM are not only the matters of fairness, but also a material drag on economic growth, innovation, and competitiveness, both in India and across the OECD countries. In India, despite rising overall female enrollment in higher education, women remained underrepresented in many engineering and technology fields and face steep attrition between graduation and STEM employment. Closing these leaks could meaningfully raise labor force participation and GDP because women's fuller economic inclusion expands the effective talent pool and raises productivity. What we see across OECD countries is that persistent gender wage gap and unequal access to senior STEM roles mean economies are operating below potential. Discrimination is still high. Occupational segregation and care burdens concentrate women in lower paid positions and limit their contribution to high growth sectors. Could you please move to the next slide? Okay. No, the previous one, research. Yeah. Okay, so the research problems, as discussed, are the access and equity gaps, which tells that the significant disparities exist in STEM, education access between urban and rural areas, different socioeconomic groups and genders, particularly in developing economies. Quality and relevance, curriculum content often lags behind industry needs, creating a mismatch between graduate skills and employer requirements in the rapidly evolving technological landscape. Workforce development, insufficient pipeline of qualified STEM professionals, certain economic competitiveness and innovation capacity in both emerging and developed economies. Next slide, please. The research objectives of my study is to assess current STEM education systems, measure economic impact, analyze the workforce development pathways, and identify best policy practices and solutions that could be recommended to solve the issue. Okay, the methodology I used for my research was in quantitative analysis, the regression analysis of education spending and economic outcomes, comparative statistical analysis across 38 OECD countries, which I already mentioned the countries that I've visited, trend analysis of enrollment and graduation rates. The qualitative research work done by me include the case studies and the surveys of successful STEM programs, policy document reviews and content analysis, expert interviews with education and industry leaders. Data sources were the government database OECD education statistics, World Bank development indicators, and national assessment reports. Next slide. Okay, so this is like the data, the key findings in India. 28% growth in STEM enrollment, annual increase in STEM program enrollment over past 5 years is just 28%, which is still very low. Annual STEM graduates 1.4 million, engineering and technology graduates produced yearly. 45% gender gap, female representation in STEM fields remains below target. So the strengths are the strong mathematical foundation in K-12 education, high value private engineering institutions, large pool of IT professionals. The challenges, uneven rural-urban infrastructure divide, limited research funding and facilities, curriculum industry gap in technical field, and one more to be precisely added, that more number of men getting higher in STEM industries rather than women. Next slide. Okay, so the key findings. Basically, this tells about the two countries where the major difference we see. High invest.
This is to let you know your 5 minutes have passed and you have 2 minutes left to conclude the presentation.
Yes. High investment, average 5.5% of education budget allocated to STEM programs, with strong public-private partnerships supporting research and development. Innovation ecosystems, integrated networks connecting universities, research institutions, and industry, driving rapid technology transfer and commercialization. Pedagogical excellence emphasizes on inquiry-based learning, hands-on experimentation, and interdisciplinary approaches, preparing students for complex problem solving. Next slide, please. Next. So these are some of the policy recommendations, in my opinion, is to boost investment, increase STEM education funding by 15% annually, prioritizing infrastructure and underserved regions and research grants. Teacher development, launch comprehensive teacher training programs with industry partnerships and competitive compensation to attract talent. Moreover, not this, but also to overcome the problem of men and women, I had some certain policy recommendations which would be as follows. Just give me a second. Yeah. To promote STEM education for girls through scholarship, mentor programs, and early exposure to science and technology, strengthen childcare infrastructure and parental leave policies to reduce the unequal burden of unpaid care work on women, encourage gender inclusive workplace policies, including flexible working arrangements and transparent promotion systems. Last not the least, support women led innovation and entrepreneurship. That's all from my side.
I would like our session chairs to ask questions as well as give the recommendations.
Okay. So, though I was not able to identify the regression equation you must have used for your analysis, most of the time your findings were descriptive only. So my question is, what because it's a cross-country analysis. So what exactly you have done to factor in the cross-country heterogeneity in your model?
All right. So basically, the main problem that I identified in India as well as in OECD countries such as Paris, Canada, such nations was in India, even though so many policies are being made for gender improvement, we have given so much contribution towards just policy making. But when it actually comes to the policy implementation things, for example, the women working in the STEM sector, we see them comparatively low. But when we see in OECD countries, the countries which are developed, we see that the women representation state in these sectors is relevantly high as compared to the country like India. There, they do not have much policies made for the support of for supporting the women, but they still understand their issues. And in India, if you see the major issue, like for example, if I would say the maternity leave given to a woman after her baby is what around 6 to 8 months, but in abroad countries it's usually lasts for around 1 year, 2 months, something like that. So when it comes to in my opinion, when it comes to like paying women equally, we always say that no, we can't do much. But when it comes to work, we have we have taken them from for granted. So that is what I've been observing.
So, see, my concern is that whenever we are comparing countries, and for that matter, even within the country, if we are comparing states, because one of the presentation was on UP also earlier. So, my because why I'm highlighting this point is because so many students are there in this technical session. So, I want everyone to understand that whenever we are comparing these states and these countries, because they are varying in terms of their maybe uh, revenue which they are generating, maybe based on their culture, maybe based upon their tradition. So many different factors are there, micro as well as macro, which may influence this particular relationship, which you have oversimplified, just putting these two major factor there in the regression model, and then you are coming out with your conclusion. So whatever you have done is very good, because see, research is an ongoing process and life is all about learning. But my point is, when you are comparing it, pay due diligence to all these parameters also. What will happen that if you will control all other factors, then the result which you will get will become more meaningful, right?
Right.
So this is it from my side, and all the very best.
Thank you, sir. I'll keep this in mind.
Sanjum,
Yes.
what I found is that your paper was more descriptive rather than analytic. You should have done more analysis after using some qualitative or some quantitative methods more purposefully. And one more thing, have you mentioned the period of study?
I don't think so. In my presentation, it is mentioned, but in my dissertation, it is like the period of study was around 6 to 8 months.
Because when you are making a comparative study of anything, then you should need to say at what period of study you people are using, as it would become, null and void. But always
Oh,
the period of study, that what comparison are you going to make, what will happen after that, what happened before that, and then you can make a comparative study, right?
right, right.
And one more thing is that here is gender and diversity gaps. My question is, gender disparities are found more in STEM education or STEM employment?
It's basically found in STEM education, STEM employment, as I've already mentioned in my presentation, that even though so many policies are being made to ensure that the females are given important and equal access to education. For example, the midday meal schemes is one of the best example. It was not only for food, but to control the dropout rate, especially for females as well, if we go in deep. But majorly we see it in the employment sector. When it comes to female work, we are women are often given very light work. For example, they could be front desk, they could be teacher, but not scientific or reasoning work, because men simply think that they are they are more mindful than women.
Fine, Sanjan. Thank you. Good efforts. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, ma'am. Presenting next online will be Palak Pathak, presenting on the topic forensic ecology, G's mapping the physical footprint of India's digital advancement. Ma'am, are you here?
Yes. Okay. Good afternoon. I hope I'm audible.
Ma'am, your audio is not visible. Audio is not audible.
Okay, am I audible now?
A little bit.
Just give me a minute. I'm really sorry.
Ma'am, Palak, ma'am?
I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, you are, ma'am. You can start the presentation.
Okay, my sincerest apologies for the delay. Good afternoon. I'm Palak Pathak. I'm a second year undergraduate economics and literature student at Sapphire College for Women. Today, I am presenting my research, Forensic Ecologies, Mapping the Physical Footprint of India's Digital Advancement. Next slide, please. India's digital leap, framed under SDG 9 as progress, is predicated on an invisible logic that mirrors colonial resource appropriation. My objective is to bridge the gap between clean corporate metrics and the localized decay in Mumbai and Telangana. Next slide, please. The research questions that I address in my paper are: how does India's digital advancement replicate colonial resource appropriation? What is the hidden energy and water load of burgeoning data centers? And how are ecological costs externalized into the marginalized domestic spaces? Next slide, please. The research objectives are to expose the footprint, that is, to uncover the physical energy and water loads of India's rapid data center expansion beyond corporate metrics, to analyze the power, to bridge the realities, that is, to map the localized ecological decay and social tolls against corporate sustainability claims, and to propose a model, that is, of radical locality, governance framework centering on biological survival and community sovereignty. Next slide, please. This research interrogates the social ecological consequences of India's data center boom through three primary lenses: atmospheric colonialism, sacrifice zones, and decolonial ecofeminism. Next slide. Thank you. India's operational capacity has reached 1.7 gigawatts across 132 facilities. While the narrative is digital India, the physical reality is energy extensive warehouses that demand constant power. Next slide. Atmospheric colonialism describes the asymmetrical way in which powerful nations and corporations seize atmospheric capacity, externalizing the pollution and resource exhaustion caused by their consumption onto the global south. Sacrifice zones. Next slide, please. Sacrifice zones are geographical regions where environmental degradation is treated as a necessary trade-off for economic growth, often at the expense of health and rights of marginalized residents. These frameworks reveal how digital infrastructure reproduces colonial patterns of dispossession under a modern tech-driven drive. Next slide, please. Decolonial ecofeminism. I argue that there is a structural parallel between the exploitation of the landscape and the devaluation of feminized labor. Both are treated as infinite externalities, the silent, uncredited providers of energy that never appear on the balance sheet. The study utilizes a mixed method investigative audit, combining operational data, investigative reporting, a political ecology research, and regional impact reports. This approach links the material mechanics of data center operations to broader issues of environmental injustice. The analysis focuses on three core pillars, that is the role of data centers in prolonging the coal dependence in Mumbai, the impact of server cooling on groundwater depletion in Telangana, and the ways green digital branding masks extractive development. The forensic evidence of Mumbai is, we can move on to the next slide, please. While Amazon publicly acknowledges only 3 availability zones in Mumbai, internal records from 2024 reveal that they operate 16 active data centers, over 5 times the acknowledged scale. This energy load equals to the consumption of 4 lakh Mumbai households. To sustain this, units utilize over 41 massive diesel generators, pumping localized emissions directly into the neighborhoods. Next slide, please. This demand has caused a major policy reversal. In late 2023, the Maharashtra government reversed the closure of Tata and Adani coal plants to meet soaring demand. Data centers were the biggest single factor in this decision. Digital modernization is literally keeping the coal alive in Mumbai. We can move on to the next slide. Mahol as a sacrifice zone. In the neighborhood of Mahol, residents live hundreds of meters from these plants. The air is notoriously poor, and in 2024, 3 brain tumors were found in a 54-year-old resident. The state prioritized energy for the cloud over the closure of plants that were due to be decommissioned for public health. We can move on to the findings of Telangana. The next slide, please. Thank you. Telangana, thirsty infrastructure investigating water stress, corporate overdraft, and regional depletion. Next slide. Data centers are thirsty infrastructure. A 2026 joint study warns that Telangana is utilizing 65% of its groundwater, perilously close to the 70% critical threshold.
That your 5 minutes have passed. You have 2 minutes left to conclude your presentation.
Perfect. If trends continue, Telangana faces a zero total depletion scenario by 2034. The next slide, please. We can move on to the next slide. Thank you. The regulatory computation gap. Why is there a vacuum in governance? Under the Environmental Protection Act of 1986 and the Water Act of 1974, computation is not formally classified as a water-intensive process. The next slide, please. This allows 300 MV facilities to bypass the comprehensive assessments required for other water-heavy industries. This is research injustice. A single 100 MV center consumes water equivalent to 6,500 local households. In Megagura village, 57 residents moved the High Court against Microsoft, alleging that the data center development enriched the pathways and dumped waste into the lake, threatening 20,000 livelihoods. This is material reality of digital expansion. Next slide, please. Green extractivism. Next slide, please. The RE solution. Corporations claim green status through renewable energy certificates, but a study in Nature Climate Change revealed 21% gap. Companies report a 31% reduction via RECs, while actual physical emissions dropped to only 10%. It is paper neutrality masking physical opacity. Next slide. The policy paradox is mapped through Finance Bill of 2026 and the corporate opacity. The Finance Bill 2026 provides 21-year tax holidays for foreign cloud providers, prioritizing corporate scaling over local protection, using the language of sustainability to conduct resource appropriation. Meanwhile, corporate secrecy keeps facility locations and resource logs hidden from the public. We can move on to the next slide. And the next one, please. Thank you. I propose the radical locality model, that is, to prioritize biological survival over digital growth. Next slide. Local grid additionality. Corporations must build new renewable energy sources within the community they occupy to avoid draining local power grids. Next slide. Community health metrics. Infrastructure permits must be strictly dependent on local air and water quality. If access is threatened, the permit must be recalled. Next slide. The conclusion is, ultimately, we must advocate for digital sovereignty. This means that the right of communities to control their own digital infrastructure and data rather than being subservient for a few multinational corporations. Decolonial sustainability requires prioritizing the survival of the metropole's biological foundations over its digital throughput. Thank you.
We will now have a brief question and answer session.
Palak, you have mentioned everything which is already in the public domain, though you have put all in the systematic order. What actual research you have done, beta?
Ma'am, my research is, so I'm a literature and an economics student. The main objective of my research was an intersectionality, that is to combine the economic frameworks and the data that is provided with the literature framework of ecofeminism and decoloniality, and ultimately to propose a solution for the problems that we face at the moment.
Okay, can you throw light on 21-year tax holiday? You have mentioned it one of your slides.
Yes, ma'am. So basically, the Finance Bill of 2026, it provides a 21-year tax holidays for foreign cloud providers, which allows them to undergo corporate scaling, which encourages them to set up data centers in the country, but there are no provisions to protect the local people and the communities that are affected by these data centers which are being set.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So, can you again tell us about the objective of your study? Because I'm still not sure what exactly is the objective in this case. And to fulfill that objective, which variables you have taken and the data for these variables, particular variable I'm talking about, from where you have taken the data from, for these variables.
Definitely, sir. So my research objective, again combining literary theories and economics, was to expose the footprint. That is to uncover the physical energy and water loads of India's data center expansion beyond the corporate metrics that are given to the public. The second was to bridge the realities, that is to map the localized ecological decay and social tolls against corporate sustainability claims. There was also to analyze the power, that is to examine the digital advancement through the lenses of atmospheric colonialism and sacrifice zones. And ultimately, I propose a model of radical locality governance which centers around biological survival and community sovereignty. As for the sources, sir, for the case study of Telangana, I have used a joint study by the Ruthu Telangana Corporation, which focused on the water decay that is happening in Telangana at the moment. And I drew the parallel between the scarcity of water crisis and the utilization of water by the data centers, and how it is proving to be a severe problem in Telangana at the moment. And also for the frameworks, I have utilized the hypertonic city versus the planet of field, which was a research by Perspectives on a Global Green New Deal by Routledge. And
That is
also,
okay. That is okay. But two major construct in your study is first ecological footprint and then second is ecological decay.
yes, sir.
So which particular indicators you have used to manifest these two constructs?
My apologies, sir. I am not able to understand what exactly the variables are meant to be in this question.
So you have simply taken a data from one particular case study on Telangana and you have simply replicated that on Maharashtra. This is what I'm getting from your presentation.
So I don't know, sir. So the case study for Maharashtra is based on the utilization of electricity and energy, while that of Telangana is based on the utilization of water by data centers. So it is
So
not.
the context of both the studies are different, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, sir.
Then how can you compare an orange from an apple?
Sir, I do not believe that the context of my study is to compare. It is to contextualize these problems that are caused by data centers in two different states. That is for Telangana, it is related to water scarcity, and in Mumbai, it is related to the electricity utilization by the data centers.
Okay. This is it from my side. All the very best.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presentation. We will now have next presenter who is presenting offline, Ms. Bhumika Hoja, presenting on the topic evaluating the economic impact of Indigenous media, comparative study and pre and post merger performance.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bhumika Ahuja, and I'll be presenting on the topic evaluating the economic impact of bank mergers in India, a comparative study of pre and post merger performances. The banking sector plays a crucial role in India's economic development and financial stability. According to the Reserve Bank of India, bank account for a major share financial system assets in India. In recent years, the regulators have encouraged bank consolidation and mergers to strengthen capital adequacy, improve operational efficiency, and enhance the global competitiveness of Indian banks. My study examines the economic and stock market impact of the merger over the period of 2017 to 2026. I have taken IDFC Bank began operation in 2015 with a primary focus of infrastructure and corporate lending. Capital First, on the other hand, was a non-banking financial company specializing the retail and consumer lending, including MSME loans. In December 2018, the two institutions merged to form a IDFC First Bank. The purpose of the merger was to combine IDFC's bank infrastructure with Capital First expertise in retail finance. The recent years, India has experienced increasing consolidation in the banking sector, encouraged the regulators to improve efficiency and financial stability, while the studies have analyzed mergers among public sector banks. The mergers between IDFC Bank and the Capital First represents an important transformation from infrastructure lending to retail banking. Therefore, the studying of the performance of IDFC First Bank of 2017 to 2026 helps to provide the deeper insight into how influence profitability, asset quality, operational efficiency, and stock market operations. My research topics are: first, analyze the financial performance of the IDFC Bank before and after the merger during period 2017 to 2026. Second, examine the impact of the merger on the stock market performance, particularly the trend, share price, and investor perception. Third, to evaluate the effect of the merger on key financial indicators such as profitability, asset quality, operational efficiency, and deposit structure using statistical tools including t-test and regression analysis. The study is based on the secondary data collected from rival institution. The study compares two periods: pre-merger, which is 2017 to 2018, and post-merger 2019 to 2026, to analyze the impact of financial indicators such as ROE, ROA, GNPA, net profit, and CASA ratio as are examined. The study uses several financial indicators commonly used in banking performance analysis: return on asset, and return on equity measure profitability. Gross non-performing asset reflects the asset quality and credit risk of the bank. Net profit indicates the overall financial performance of the bank. CASA ratio represents the proportion of low-cost deposits, which are crucial for funding efficiency. Now let's talk about pre-merger and post-merger financial performance. Before the merger, IDFC Bank relied heavily on infrastructure and corporate lending, which exposed the bank in higher credit risk and in limited diversification. Profitability indicators such as ROA, ROE remained relatively moderate, and the CASA ratio was below 10%, indicating the weak deposit base. After the merger, the bank shifted toward a retail-focused banking model. The bank expanded its retail lending portfolio, increased its customer base and significantly improved its deposit structure. One of the most notable changes was the rise in the CASA ratio, CASA, to nearly 50%, reflecting the stronger mobilization of low deposits. Now let's move on to stock market performance of banking sector, which is banking stocks play a major role in the Indian stock market and often for the investors. Expectations regarding financial performance and economic conditions before the merger, IDFC Bank share price showed moderate volatility, partially due to its heavy exposure to the infrastructure lending. After the merger, the bank gradually improved its financial indicator and expanded its retail banking operations. The trend analysis of the share price, I have shown trend analysis of the share price between 2017 to 2026, a noticeable upward trend from 2021 onwards, indicating the growing investor confidence, the suggestion that market responded positively from the bank strategies. I have done t-test analysis. The graph to statistically evaluate the impact of merger, an independent sample t-test were conducted. The test compares the mean value of the financial indicators between pre and post merger periods. This is the data that I have taken from the Money Control and the Screener Financial database. The variables analyzed as ROA, ROE, gross NPA, net profit, and CASA. This indicates that the merger significantly improved the banking low-cost deposit mobilization and funding efficiency, which is important for a factor for improving bank profitability for the long run. However, the CASA ratio shows a statistically significant increase with a p-value less than 0.05. To further analyze the relationship between financial variables, a regression model was applied. In this model, ROA is treated as a dependent variable representing profitability, while the GNPA and CASA ratio are independent variables. This is the data I have taken, which shows the ROA, ROE, gross NPA, net profit, and CASA. Now to conclude, the merger between IDFC Bank and Capital First played an important role in strengthening the bank's long-term financial position. The bank successfully improved its deposit structure and diversified its loan portfolio and expected retail banking operations. Although profitability improvement took time to materialize, the overall result indicate the merger contribution to the greater financial stability. Thank you for your time and attention.
Bhumika, you're a master's student or a research scholar?
I am a BA Economics honor student.
BA?
Yeah.
But then it was a very good effort by you. But the thing is that when, 26 is still running,
Yeah.
so you should have limit your study to till 25 because, it's a long way to go in 26.
Okay.
And you have used t-test, and in the table you have mentioned the data from 2017 to 24 only.
Yes, ma'am, because only the data was
So
available.
that's the reason we should not take the current year in the study, right? Okay. One thing I would like to ask from you is that you have mentioned some efficiency gains with the IDFC. So it's the financial gains or just the structural or the administrative gains you're talking about?
Ma'am, the financial case.
Financial.
Thank you.
Good. Good effort by you.
But my question is, why at IDFC only? Why not some other bank?
Sir, could you repeat the question?
So you have used one particular bank. Why IDFC bank only? Why not some other bank?
So because the other banks were usually the Basically, the research on the other banks have already done. IDFC Bank research was very less. That's why I chose IDFC Bank.
So you have changed the context of the study, huh?
No, sir. It's basically on the comparative study on pre and post only, but the other banks were really famous for their mergers. IDFC Bank was not.
See, your presentation was very good.
Thank you, sir.
And the way you have presented it from the introduction and then specifying the objective and then systematically you have clarified what all methodology you have used and then t-test, then regression equation you have shown there, and then you have concluded it, given that you are student of BBA something,
BA
BB
Economics.
honors,
Yeah.
BA economics. Yeah. So it's a very good attempt, and I would encourage you to understand regression analysis more. What regression is all about, what are other assumptions of the regression, because more and more you will learn, more you will understand the technicalities, and you will have that tool in your hand to explore more than about all these kind of studies.
Yes, sir.
So all the very best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bhumi. Our next presenter is Sophia Malik, who is presenting online on the topic A Study on the Rising Divorce Rates in the 21st Century India, Causes and Consequences.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sophia Malik and I am a BA
Madam
on...
Sophia, the only request is whenever you are presenting, please keep your camera on.
Okay, sir, just a second.
So the prime reason is that we do not want to, feel like that we are interacting with the computers. So if you will be there, your face will be there, then, it is going to be a human kind of interaction.
This is to inform everybody that we had a participant, Alex S, who will not be participating anymore due to some emergency. So we will Sophia. Sophia, are you here? Miss Sophia? Miss Sophia, it's your presentation. Since you're not responding, we will be moving to the next one, which is Mr. Mr. Muteeb Bhatt presenting offline on the topic Sustainable and Equitable, a quantitative analysis of sovereign ESG and inequality adjustment from 2010 to 2023.
Hello, am I audible now?
It's okay, ma'am. You can present after this presentation.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Good afternoon to all present here. I am Muteeb and alongside with my teammate Babaji Chauhan Singh. We are a final year undergrad student at MIT School of Economics, and today we are here to present our paper on the topic Sustainable and Equitable, a quantitative analysis of sovereign ESG and inequality adjusted human development from the year 2010 to 2023. So let's start with the introduction. If we look at the background of the study, modern global policy is shifting from raw GDP growth to sustainable welfare. This research investigates the link between sovereign ESG, social and governance, performance, and human well-being. The context of the study is that traditional metrics like HDI rely on arithmetic means that mask internal disparities. This study utilizes the inequality-adjusted HDI to capture the distributional discount of development. The importance of the study is to understand if sustainability is a luxury for rich nations or a necessity for the developing world is critical for international policy and resource allocation. Now let's take a quick dig at the literature review of the study. If we look at the theoretical background of the study, earlier researchers focused on the GDP and physical indicators to measure development. However, recent studies suggest that ESG indicators provide a better measure of long-term economic stability and sovereign risk. ESG now is viewed as a measure of a country's natural, social, and institutional capital rather than just an investment tool. Thirdly, sustainability equity nexus, which means environmental sustainability and social equity are closely connected. Climate risk often affect poor and marginalized communities more. So environmental policies also act as social policies. If we look at the research gap of the study, it moves beyond simple GDP averages to advocate for a welfare first model of the growth. By using inequality adjusted human development index, the study frames sovereign ESG not as a checklist for investors, but as a critical management system for a nation's natural, human, and institutional capital. The main objective of the study, let's talk about the first objective, to explore ESG performance of developed and developing countries. The second objective is to measure the impact of sovereign ESG scores on equitable human development. Over to Bhavijit.
Thank you, Matheep. I'd like to talk about our research methodology. First, our data set is a balanced panel of 280 observations across 20 major economies, which account for approximately 75% of the GDP. And it is split equally into 10 developing and 10 developed nations. Next, we've constructed a sovereign ESG index using ESG scores by World Bank. This ensures that diverse data is comparable with each other. We've selected 9 relevant indicators across E, S, and G. Then we've normalized the data from 0 to 1. We've also inverted any negative indicators. Finally, we've constructed the simple weighted index by giving equal weight to each variable and pillar. Next, we use a fixed effect regression model where our dependent variable is IHDI, independent variable is ESG. Later on, we've also used another model where IHDI is still the dependent variable, but our independent variable, which is the sovereign ESG index, it is split into its individual pillars to understand how they each individually affect it. Next, let us look at the analysis and the findings. First is a regression result of the composite ESG index. I'll talk about it in detail. So if you look at a global perspective, so for the full sample, the coefficient suggests that sustainability is a universal driver of welfare. A 10% improvement in the nation's ESG profile predicts a 0.030 point increase in its IHDI. Let's look at developing and developed countries. A clear catch-up effect is evident. The impact in developing nations is approximately 70% higher than in developed nations. The within R square for developing cohort is notably higher than the developed cohort. This the ESG performance is a more critical determinant of development trajectories in emerging economies, whereas baseline standards are still being established. Next, we've run another regression with the disaggregated ESG pillars. So here are the results. On a global level, the social pillar is the most potent driver of the IHDI. This reflects the immediate welfare gains from basic infrastructure and labor inclusion. The social plateau in advanced economies becomes statistically insignificant. Having already achieved universal access to basic social services, these nations have reached a point of diminishing marginal returns. Instead, the environmental pillar emerges as the sole significant driver, indicating that green efficiency is the new frontier for development in the global north. The infrastructure engine, let's talk about it. In developing nations. Conversely, the social pillar is the undisputed driver for developing nations. Every unit of progress in social infrastructure yields a massive return in equitable development. The environmental pillar is significant but has a smaller magnitude. Now, there is a paradox in the governance pillar. Across all models in both tables, the governance pillar remains statistically insignificant. This finding is justified by two econometric realities: the time lag effect. Institutional qualities such as rule of law and corruption control operate on a decadal cycle. In this 14-year-old panel, these structural foundations do not produce the annual spike in welfare that physical indicators like electricity access or carbon reduction do. The transmission mechanism. The government acts as the enabler for E and S. Improvement in the government effectiveness manifests as better public services and delivery or better climate policy. Consequently, the direct statistical impact of governance is absorbed by the other two pillars in a multivariate fixed effect model. Next, I'd like to hand over the mic to Muteep to conclude this presentation.
So to conclude, this study identifies a clear mathematical link where an impact in ESG scores predict increasing IHDI. However, the impact of specific ESG pillars varies based on nation's economic maturity. If we talk about strategic policy recommendations for the global south, they should focus on social contract. For the global north, the focus should be on environmental reforms to break through the development plateaus. And for the G pillar of the ESG, while its short-term impact was statistically low, it's viewed as a foundation providing stability necessary for S and E pillar of ESG. If you talk about the research limitations, the first major limitation is that time lag. We have 14 years of study. And the second limitation is we have limited scope. We are only representing 75% of global GDP. And the last limitation is causality. It remains unclear if ESG drives welfare or if higher welfare enables better ESG. Thank you so much. No? Thank you.
We will now have a brief. Okay, we'll move on to the next. Sir, would you like?
If you allow, then definitely.
No, please go ahead, sir.
Okay. So you said that you have used normalized the data from 0 to 1. How you have done that?
Sir, we've used a calculation for the minimum maximum normalization and an inverse formula for the same if the indicator is negative.
Any particular method you have used?
Can I just explain the whole equation to you, if you don't mind?
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
I have it written here.
So this equation is being devised by you only, or you have used some credible equation?
Sir, we looked up how normalization works on if we're like normalizing a score to a scale of 0 to 1. So the equation basically was x minus x minimum upon x maximum minus x minimum. If you have any suggestions for us to use any other equations for normalization, please let us know.
Okay. Next, you have used a balanced panel of 10 developing and 10 developed countries. So on what grounds you have used these 10 developed countries, and then on and then obviously the underdeveloped one, developing and developed one.
So the main reason is that these 20 countries are accumulating over 75% of overall GDP of the globally. And the second main reason is that the data availability, because these 20 countries have better data available than other countries, and they accumulate 75% of global GDP.
So why you have used fixed effect? Why not random one?
Yes, sir.
Why fixed effect?
Sir, we've used fixed effect because if we not use fixed effect, then it will, if there is a bias in countries like India is not as developed as Sweden, then it will get different results if we're comparing at a global level.
So there is one particular test which will decide whether you will go for fixed effect or a random effect. Have you used that test, and which one is that test?
No, sir, we've not done that.
Not a problem. Good, nice presentation and a good effort.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Bhavyaji. Thank you, Muteep. We'll be moving on to next participant, Sophia Malik, presenting online on the topic, a study of rising divorce rate, 21st century India, causes and consequences.
I hope I am audible and visible as well this time.
Yes, you are.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sophia Malik, and I am a student of BA Honors in Sociology from Amity University, Noida. Today, I will be presenting my research titled Rising Divorce Rates in 21st Century India, Causes and Consequences. So slide 1, please. Marriage has traditionally been considered one of the most stable and sacred institutions in Indian society. However, in recent decades, we have witnessed a gradual rise in divorce cases along with significant changes in marital expectations. This research attempts to understand why these changes are occurring and what their consequences are for individuals and families in contemporary India. Research context. Historically, in India, marriage was not only a relationship between two individuals, but a bond between two families. Divorce was extremely rare and was often socially disapproved. However, contemporary India is experiencing rapid social and economic changes, including increased education, urbanization, media exposure, and greater participation of women in the workforce. According to NFHS 5 data, the percentage of divorced or separate women has increased compared to earlier decades, even though the overall rate still remains relatively low. These changes suggest that divorce should not only be seen as a personal issue, but also as a reflection of wider social transformation in Indian society. Slide 3, please. Research objectives. The main objectives of my research are: first, to examine the economic and social factors contributing to the increasing divorce cases in India. Second, to explore the psychological and familial effects of divorce, especially on partners and children. Third, to understand how changing expectations within marriage influence marital stability. And finally, to suggest balanced solutions that strengthen social support systems while respecting individual freedom and autonomy. Slide 4, please. Research methodology. For this research, I used a secondary data collection method. The study is based on analysis of national reports, international comparisons, and scholarly research articles related to marriage, gender roles, and divorce trends in India. By examining these different sources, the research attempts to understand divorce not simply as a personal event, but as a broader social phenomena influenced by economic, cultural, and psychological factors. Slide 5. Changing nature of marriage. One of the major reasons behind rising divorce rates is the changing nature of marriage itself. Earlier, marriages in India were largely duty oriented and arranged by families, where stability and family expectations were prioritized over personal satisfaction. However, in contemporary society, marriage is increasingly viewed as a companionship based on emotional compatibility, mutual respect, and shared values. The younger generation especially expects communication, equality, and emotional support within relationships. Urbanization and the rise of nuclear families have also reduced the control of extended family systems, making divorce more socially and practically possible. Slide 6. Economic independence and gender transformation. Another important factor influencing divorce trends is women's economic independence. With higher education and greater employment opportunities, many women today have their own income and financial security. This financial independence provides women with greater decision making power and the ability to leave marriages that may be unhappy or unhealthy for them. However, this transition also creates role conflicts as traditional expectations often continue to expect women to prioritize domestic responsibilities even when they are working professionals. This tension between traditional norms and modern aspirations can sometimes contribute to dissatisfaction within marriage. Slide 7, please. Psychological and emotional factors. Psychological and emotional factors also play a significant role in marital stability. In earlier times, marriages often continued due to societal pressure, even when emotional satisfaction was limited.
That's your,
Today,
ma'am, your 5 minutes have passed. You have 2 minutes left to conclude your presentation.
sure, noted. When communication breaks down or expectations were not fulfilled, dissatisfaction may arise. At the same time, increasing awareness about mental health and personal happiness encourages individuals to prioritize their emotional well being. Therefore, divorce today should be understood as a multidimensional issue that include emotional, psychological, and social dimensions. Slide 8. Financial impact. Divorce also has several consequences. One major impact is economic vulnerability, particularly for women who were homemakers and financially dependent on their partners. After divorce, many women face challenges related to financial stability, employment opportunities, and social security, especially when they are responsible for their children. Slide 9. Social and psychological impacts. Another important consequence is social stigma. Although awareness is gradually increasing, divorce is still viewed negatively in many parts of society, especially for women. Divorced individuals may face social judgment, emotional stress, anxiety, and trust issues. Children may also experience adjustment difficulties and challenges during and after divorce process. However, it is also important to recognize that in situations involving abuse or severe conflict, divorce can sometimes lead to improved well-being for individuals. Slide 10. Recommendations. To address these challenges, my research suggests several measures. First, relationship education should be included within education curricula, helping young people understand communication, expectations, and conflict resolution in relationships. Second, affordable premarital and marital counseling services should be made more accessible to people. Third, gender equity education should promote equal sharing of household responsibilities and respect for both partners' professional roles. In addition, next slide. In addition, stronger economic, emotional, and legal support system should be provided for divorced individuals. And last slide, conclusion. In conclusion, the rise in divorce rates in India should not simply be seen as the breakdown of marriage. Rather, it reflects broader social transformations, including women's economic independence, changing gender roles, and evolving expectations within relationships. Therefore, a balanced approach is required, one that strengthens marriage through awareness, communication, and support systems, while also respecting individual autonomy and personal choices. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have a brief question and answer session.
Sophia,
Yes, ma'am.
how is your paper related to the theme of the conference?
Okay.
And it seems that you have given all the arguments in favor of, in favor of divorce. So it seems that divorce is a sustainable development goal.
Ma'am, since the conference is integrating diverse indigenous knowledge systems for dynamic advancements of sustainable development goals, so my research relates to the conference theme because traditional Indian society has like long valued family stability, community support, and social harmony within marriage, which is a part of our indigenous social knowledge system. So by examining rising divorce rates and studying and by highlighting how modern changes such as economic independence and changing gender roles interact with these traditional values. So understanding this relationship helps develop solution that balance cultural traditions with contemporary social realities, which is like an important for sustainable social development.
Sophia, is it more of a personal freedom or a gender equality? One line answer, please.
Ma'am, I guess it's more of a personal freedom, what I believe.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Balraj sir?
This is not my area of expertise, so that's nothing from my side. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Next is Anya Jain, who will be presenting offline on the topic physical climate risk and foreign direct investment in South and Southeast Asia, the moderating role of regulatory quality.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anya Jain, and I'm a final year BA Honors Business Economics student. Today, I'll be presenting my paper on physical climate risk and FDI in South and Southeast Asia, the moderating role of regulatory quality. FDI is a critical engine of growth for developing economies, bringing capital, technology, and employment. Meanwhile, climate change is intensifying floods, cyclones, and heat waves across South and Southeast Asia, one of the most climate vulnerable regions in the world. This raises a fundamental question. Does physical climate risk deter foreign investors? The 10 countries in my sample represent both the highest climate exposure and some of the fastest growing FDI destinations globally. That tension is what motivates this study. While there's growing work on climate risk and FDI globally, most studies use large cross-country samples that average out regional dynamics. More critically, no study has directly tested whether regulatory quality buffers or amplifies the deterrent effect of climate risk on FDI, specifically here in South and Southeast Asia. Governments in this region are actively reforming their regulatory systems to attract investment. If stronger regulation in already climate vulnerable settings can actually deter FDI, policymakers urgently need to know that. My 3 objectives: examine the direct climate FDI relationship, test whether regulatory quality moderates it, and draw practical policy lessons. Moving on to the methodology, I use a balanced panel of 10 South and Southeast Asian countries, that is Bangladesh, Bhutan, Cambodia, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Pakistan, and the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam from 2000 to 2002 to 2023. My dependent variable is FDI inflows as a share of GDP. Physical climate risk is proxied using climate vulnerability, which is measured using the NDG Gain Country Index, capturing physical exposure, adaptive capacity, and sensitivity. Regulatory quality comes from the World Bank's worldwide governance indicators. The key variable is the interaction between these two, which directly tests whether regulatory quality changes how climate risk affects FDI. I use country fixed effects with cluster robust standard errors justified by both theoretical grounds and diagnostic tests, confirming heteroscedasticity and serial autocorrelation. Moving on to the regression results. The direct effect of climate vulnerability on FDI is negative but not statistically significant. This is also consistent with existing literature, which also does not find any robust direct effect of once economic fundamentals are controlled. Regulatory quality alone is similarly insignificant, which makes sense in a fixed effects model because the variable changes very slowly within countries, but the interaction term is negative and significant, where the beta equals minus 0.259 and the p-value equals 0.042. This is the central finding. The negative effect of climate vulnerability on FDI is amplified in countries with stronger regulatory institutions and not cushioned. This challenges the standard assumption that better governance unconditionally attracts investment. Interpreting the interaction effect, 3 mechanisms explain this. First, compliance cost. Strong institutions enforce climate regulations, building codes, environmental standards, disaster risk requirements in already climate vulnerable locations. Enforcement raises the expected cost of doing business further. This mirrors evidence from the EU emissions trading scheme and from Chinese climate policies in Chinese cities. Second, risk internalization. In weakly governed countries, investors can ignore climate liability because rules aren't enforced.
In well-governed countries, the same physical vulnerability is converted into concrete legal obligations, mandatory flood-proofing, stricter land rules, making risk costly and real. Third, investor behavior. When firms believe rules will be enforced, they factor compliance into location decisions and may choose lower cost alternatives. Climate vulnerable but well-governed countries risk losing cost-sensitive FDI without yet attracting resilience-oriented FDI to replace it. Critically, this does not mean regulatory quality is bad for investment. It means reforms must be paired with specific facilitation measures to make strong institutions work for investors and not against them. Moving on to the policy implications, the policy message is clear but requires care and interpretation. Regulatory reform is necessary but not sufficient. It must be paired with three complementary measures. First, investment facilitation. Provide clear and stable regulatory roadmaps for climate compliance so investors can plan ahead rather than face costly surprises. Second, risk sharing. Deploy blended finance instruments, climate risk guarantees, green investment funds, public-private partnerships to absorb the additional risk that regulation makes visible to investors. Third, target quality FDI. Shift from maximizing aggregate inflows towards attracting climate-resilient investment in renewable energy and sustainable infrastructure where the regulatory strength is an asset rather than a cost. Regional cooperation through ASEAN and SAARC can also amplify all three. Limitations of my study. I want to briefly acknowledge 5 limitations. The sample of 10 countries is small, and the marginal results should be interpreted cautiously. Fixed effects cannot capture time-varying omitted variables. The NDG gain composite masks which specific hazards matter the most. FDI is treated as homogeneous across sectors, and findings may not generalize beyond this region. Moving on to the scope for future research, 3 directions stand out for future work. First, expanding the sample to include Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Laos as data becomes available. Second, disaggregating climate vulnerability into specific hazard types to identify which risks investors respond to most strongly. Third, and most importantly, distinguishing green from carbon-intensive FDI, which may respond very differently to the regulatory quality and climate vulnerability interaction. To conclude, this paper provides the first direct empirical test of how regulatory quality moderates the climate FDI relationship in South and Southeast Asia. The central finding, a negative and significant interaction, challenges the conventional assumption that better governance unconditionally attracts investment. In climate vulnerable settings, stronger institutions amplify rather than buffer the deterrent effect of climate risk because they convert physical exposure into real compliance costs. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Anya. We'll now have a question and answer round.
Anya, in your paper, you have used the moderating role of regulatory quality, right? So, what differences actually you have found in the regulating quality influencing the FDI patterns in South and Southeast Asia?
Yeah.
What are the differences you have found? In nutshell, if you can explain. You have used all the statistical data and everything.
Right.
So, what are the conclusions?
What are the conclusions, ma'am? So regulatory quality. So firstly, I chose regulatory quality because among all the other governance indicators, regulatory quality, according to literature, has had the most positive and significant effect on FDI. And regulatory quality mostly in all countries with high climate vulnerability, regulatory quality amplifies the deterrent effect of climate risk because so for example, if a country has strong regulations, then the compliance also becomes even more expensive, which is why investors may choose to relocate to countries with lesser regulations.
Balraj sir?
Okay. Anya. So I just want to inquire first and then I'll ask question. For FDI inflow, you have multiple sources and from there you can get the ratio data for that. But for how you have measured these two indicators, one is climate vulnerability, which particular indicator you have used to get the data for, and from where, which source you have used, and how you got the data or measurement for regulatory quality.
So, sir, for climate risk, physical climate risk has been proxy using climate vulnerability data from NDG gain index. It basically captures exposure, adaptive capacity, and sensitivity of countries, like the score. And like this is consistent with literature because a lot of other research papers have also used NDG gain index to as a proxy for physical climate risk. And
Okay.
regulatory quality, I've used WDI's World Governance Indicators.
So this is again an index, or what kind of value you have there?
It is an estimate. So for regulatory quality, it basically gives each country a score.
Okay.
And it's the same for climate vulnerability.
So my question is, when you are, trying to see the interaction effect of regulatory quality, and when it is interacting with your climate vulnerability, what kind of effect it is being generated on foreign direct investment inflow?
So regulatory quality basically amplifies the deterrent effect of climate risk, which means that if the relationship between climate risk and FDI is already negative. And when you factor in regulatory quality into it, like the relationship is still negative and significant. It does not buffer like the impact of climate risk on
So
FDI.
relationship, see, the relationship is negative. That's still the same. What about the magnitude? Has it increased or reduced when you are seeing the interaction effect?
So it has increased.
So what exactly, so how you will infer this particular finding, that when your regulatory quality is more, then your climate vulnerability will increase in some way, or how you going to infer it? Because ultimately, if regulatory quality is there, I think the effect of climate vulnerability on FDA must reduce, if I'm not wrong.
So this is what conventional literature believes, because conventionally regulatory quality is supposed to have a positive effect on FDI, but because the model is an interaction effect between regulatory quality and climate vulnerability, it basically states that in countries where climate vulnerability is already very high, when you factor in regulatory quality, it amplifies the effect of climate risk, because like investors will this is also consistent with literature, specifically the pollution haven hypothesis, which states that when a country has higher enforcement rules.
So no problem, no problem. See, whenever we go for any kind of moderation or interaction effect, there are three cases only: present or absent, positive or negative, low or high. So this is how they decide or they influence the strength of the relationship.
Right.
Right. So based upon this ground, I want you to again go through the analysis which you got, and then try to get some other, meaningful inference out of it. You have also mentioned VIF analysis. What do you understand by VIF?
So it basically means the multicollinearity test. So before conducting my regression, I basically conducted 3 diagnostic tests: heteroscedasticity, autocorrelation, and multicollinearity. Multicollinearity wasn't an issue because the mean VIF was below 10. And for autocorrelation and heteroscedasticity, there was an
What
issue.
is the range of what is the range for VIF?
So 4 point, I don't remember the exact number, but it's 4 point something.
I think it has to be from 0.2 to 5. If that is, if the value is between this particular range, then there is no multicollinearity. And if the value is below zero point 0.2 and more than point, not point, more than 5, then there is, I think, potential multicollinearity issue.
Yes, sir, but I think a little bit of multicollinearity is justified because it's an interaction model. So because the one variable is mathematically related to.
So last question: why there is a possibility of serial autocorrelation in these kind of studies?
Sir, because for serial autocorrelation, like for example, GDP growth and GDP per capita, there is some sort of there is a little bit of correlation between these two variables. So this is why my model was able to detect correlation between control variables.
Okay, can you name your professor who has helped you out in getting all these thing done?
So I asked, I basically consulted a lot of my professors. For econometrics specifically, I was dealing with Shilpi ma'am, and my guide is Neetu ma'am.
Okay, nice. So your professors are doing great job with the student, huh? Good. All the very best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Anya. Next we have is Akshat Kedia. He will be presenting on the topic Trust, Ease of Use and Security as Drivers of FinTech Adoption, a study of UPI-based digital banking apps and their role in financial inclusion in India.
Good afternoon, everyone. My topic is good afternoon, everyone. My name is Akshat Kedia from Amity School of Business, and I will be presenting on the topic UPI-based digital banking apps and their role in inclusion financial in India. This research focuses on understanding why people adopt UPI-based digital payment applications and how the adoption contribute to finance inclusion in India. The digital financial revolution, examining the potential growth of the unified payments interface. Like in recent years, India has experienced a major transformation, and with the introduction of unified payments interface for UPI, UPI allows instant bank-to-bank transfers through mobile apps such as Google Pay, Phone Pay, and Paytm, making digital phone transaction faster and more convenient. Today, UPI processes billions of transactions every month, and it has become one of the most widely used digital payments in today's the UPI ecosystem. The study for the unified payment interface has rapidly transformed India to less cash society, reaching over 400 million users and processing billions of monthly transactions. Despite this exponential growth, overwhelming the digital divide and addressing cybersecurity fears remain critical to ensuring universal adoption and long-term financial inclusions. So the research objectives for this research paper is uh, investigate trust, analyze how a deep belief in a secure and transparent system directly drives the adoption and continued the use of UPI-based banking applications. Second, we have to analyze usability to examine the role of ease of use and encourage users to adopt digital payments and in the UPI platforms among the non-technical demographics. Third, we have measure inclusions, evaluate the extent to which widespread UPI utilization successfully integrates traditionally unbanked populations into the former economic structure. Next, we have conceptual framework. We have two differences, exogenous factors and dependable variables. Uh, this research is based on technology adoption theories, such as the technology acceptance model and UT-AUT. According to this framework, factors like trust, ease of use, and perceived security act as independent variables that influence UPI adoption behavior. When users trust the system and find it easy and secure to use, they are more likely to adopt digital payment applications. Uh, Increased adoption of UPI then leads to greater financial inclusions by enabling more people to access digital financial inclusions. This framework also hypothesizes that high ratings in the exogenous factors will directly lead to pivotal systemic and outcomes. Financial inclusions, the broader socio-economic impact of integrating users into formal banking via accessible digital platforms. Demographics. So this slide shows the demographic distribution of the respondents. This survey includes 95 participants, and the majority of respondents belong to the 18 to 25 years age group. This indicates that user individuals and working professionals are the primary adopters of digital payment technologies. It also highlights the growing role of digital finance among younger generations. uh, trust, perceived, and security. The findings showed that more than 80% of respondents expressed trust in UPI-based digital payments applications. This high level of trust is supported by security features such as a two-factor authentication, encrypted transactions, and device binding technologies. When users feel confident that their financial information is safe, they are more likely to use digital payment platforms regularly. The data also confirms that elevated trust directly correlates with reduced perceived transaction risks, heavily driving user retention. The impact of usability, ease of use is around 76% of respondents finds UPI applications easy to use. The simple and intuitive user interface reduces technological barriers and makes digital payments accessible even to first-time users. Therefore, usability plays a major role in encouraging people to adopt digital payment ecosystems. This we have correlation and analysis chart. This slide presents the between the variables. The results show a strong positive relationship between trust and adoption, as well as the ease of use and adoption behavior. The strongest correlation was found between the UPI adoption and financial inclusion, indicating that higher user of digital payments platforms improve access to financial services. This supports the idea that was found between the UPI adoption and financial inclusions, indicating that high user of digital payments will include financial services. Driving financial inclusions. This study also found that over 80% of the respondents believe that UPI contributes to financial inclusions by enabling instant digital transactions without requiring physical bank visits. UPI allows people to form semi-urban and rural areas to participate in formal financial system. This reduces dependency on cash and improves financial accessibility. Strategic recommendations. First, financial institutions should increase awareness about security features to strengthen users' trust. Second, we have application developers should continue improving user-friendly interfaces and multilingual support to make digital payments more accessible. And finally, policymakers should promote digital literacy programs to encourage wider adoption of UPI digital financial services.
Akshat, your paper title is Trust, Ease of Use and Security, etc. Right? Uh, how have you been able to measure trust and ease of use? Have you used any primary data collection
Yes,
method?
ma'am. I had collected a primary data of around 95 respondents. That gave me the data of about like how many like what are the securities and eases that
Do you
can.
have a copy of questionnaire with you?
I'm not currently.
No. Okay, fine. Okay.
So with the help of that,
Yeah, you have used in that?
I'm sorry.
What area you have used?
I'd use Likert scale.
Sorry?
Likert scale method.
No, I'm asking the area of study from where you have collected the primary data.
Yes, yes.
The people belong to which place?
Ma'am,
They have
basically,
taken it on online.
ma'am, it was an online base, but basically it was urban area only. The limitation is like rural platform.
Okay, fine.
Answer?
Raj sir, are you there? I think sir has other places to be. So we'll be next contestant, next participant.
Next is Lakshya Chaudhary. He will be presenting on the topic upskilling through life, an updated guide to survival.
Only 3, 4 left. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lakshay and I'm here to present on the topic Upscaling Through Life, an updated guide to survival. Introduction. India stands at a demographic crossroads. We have one of the youngest populations in the world, and that should be our greatest strength. But instead of a demographic dividend, we risk a demographic disaster. Over 56% of India's graduates are not job ready. Why? Because our higher education system still prioritizes rote learning and theoretical assessments over practical problem-solving skills that industry demands. The fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution is accelerating skill obsolescence faster than ever. If we do not act now, millions of educated but unemployable young people will strain our economy rather than drive it forward. Research objective. The paper addresses the four objectives. First objective is to examine the gap between higher education and industry skill requirements in India. Analyze the role of vocational training and skill development programs in bridging this gap. Evaluate government initiatives related to skill development, including PMKVY 4.0, Project Amber, and NPTL. Explore new approaches to integrate education and employability, and propose a comprehensive policy framework to improve workforce readiness. Methodology. To ensure rigor, the research design for the paper is qualitative, dominate mixed method approach. The research design is descriptive and diagnostic. Diagnostic to map out present situations of Indian higher education versus vocational training to find out underlying causes of the 54% employability gap.
Be confident you have done a good work, right? Well presented.
And poor penetration of formal skills training. Data collection sources, secondary studies, India Skills Report 2025 and WEF Future of Jobs Report 2023, Annual Report of the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship 24-25, comparison of PMKVY 4.0, Sankalp and Project Amber. A comparative qualitative case study method uses a case study illustration to review the practice outcome of theory-based education and modular skill pathways. This amount of analytical rather than statistical and generalization. Niyukti Plus policy benchmarking. The proposed Niyukti Plus policy was developed by considering 7-step approach of Project Amber simplified to the macro level policy approach. Demand pull logic through the live industrial demand index and hybridization ratios, experimenting with the practicality of a theoretical to application 60-40 credit ratio. Data analysis techniques, the amount of money was evaluated against the real performance of the sector in terms of employability, and Industry 4.0 requires based on the employer surveys to support rationale of the sector-specific youth compacts of Niyukti Plus. Ethical issues and restrictions. The possibility of one-sidedness of finding is counterbalanced through impartial approach of the topic that takes into account long-term intellectual development of higher education. And the research also acknowledges the primary quantitative survey of FY26 are yet to be fully realized and are based on the latest actualizations that are available in the 25-26. Literature review. The literature reviews 4 critical themes. First, the employability paradox. The India Skills Report 2026 shows 56.35% employability, but that still leaves nearly 44% of graduates behind. These are real people facing what researchers call a psychological drain. Years of study that doesn't translate into jobs. Secondly, the AI double disruption. The World Economic Forum notes that AI is not eliminating jobs outright, it is creating a skill churn. The half-life of technical skills have dropped to just 5 years, meaning skills learned in year one of a 4-year degree may already be obsolete by graduation. Third, vocational efficacy. Programs like Project Amber are achieving 73% placement rates, often with higher starting salaries than degree holders. Digital hubs are democratizing access to quality training, even in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Fourth, the shift to skills based recruitment. 80% of Indian employers now prioritize potential over degree. Companies like Google and IBM have dropped degree requirements, preferring GitHub portfolios. Fifth is the indigenous knowledge systems. IKS covers agriculture, handicrafts, construction, and ecology, yet remains entirely outside formal skilling, causing underemployment and a lack of skills. Not lack of skills. India's employability crisis. Only half of India's graduates are employable. Millions of young people spend years studying curricula that holds no relevance to the actual job market. The problem is threefold. First, the courses remain theory heavy with minimum practical exposure. The industries are rapidly evolving. AI, data analytics, and cloud computing are now baseline requirements. Third, soft skills. Communication, adaptability, teamwork are practically untrained in most degree programs. The crisis is not uniform. Technical and management graduates fare better, while arts, sciences, and commerce graduates are significantly more disadvantaged. Only 4.7% of India's workforce has received skill training. The government has made efforts. PMKVY 4.0 has trained over 27 lakh candidates, and ITI have expanded to over 14,682 institutions. But structural weakness persists. Curricula remains outdated. Equipment is obsolete. Industry collaboration is superficial, and the entire labor-intensive sectors, textile, logistics, tourism, construction, remains outside meaningful skilling pipelines. Unless there is an immediate structure intervention, India's demographic dividend will become a demographic liability. WF released a Future of Jobs report in 2023, which states that we are in the era of Industry 4.0. AI, robotics, automation, and digitization are redefining every sector. The WEF Future Jobs Report 2023 surveyed over 800 companies across 45 countries and found that 23% of jobs globally will be disrupted. 14 million eliminated, but 69 million new jobs will be created. The key insight of it: 44% of core skills will need to evolve. Critical thinking, problem solving, and tech literacy are the new baseline. Over 3/4 of businesses plan to adopt new technologies within 5 years. India simply cannot afford to train its youth for jobs that will no longer exist. Indigenous knowledge system. Indigenous knowledge system, or IKS, encompasses agriculture, handicrafts, sustainable construction, water management, and
Sure, your time is done. You'll have to wrap up your presentation.
conclusion. The question of employability in India is not about talent shortage, but rather about mismatch between the education and skills on one hand and the need of labor market on the other. This, combined with the lack of focus on the professional training and excessive focus on theory-based higher education, has constrained the potential of younger graduates to access the labor market. With the speed of change in technology and skill requirement growing faster each day, this disparity threatens to make the demographic dividend of India a demographic nightmare. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now have the question and answer session.
Lakshya, When you are presenting a paper, there is no need to read the entire things. Just point out the main things and then explain it in your own words, right? Otherwise, the paper was good. But very general questions I'm asking to you. So from a paper, what you have determined, skills or formal degree, which is more important?
Skills are more important.
Skills are more important. And what you are getting here in Amity, a formal degree?
I'm getting skills.
What skills you have taken from university then?
Skills such as marketing,
Mhm.
skills such as managing human resource, skills such as communication, skills such as learning new languages.
Okay, one more question. What sectors of economy are experiencing the fastest changes in skill demand? If you can elaborate that. Any particular industry, any particular thing where you think skills are more important than the formal degree?
IT would be one such sector.
Can you elaborate that? 2 or 3 lines?
Because a degree does not determine how well you can write a code, how well you can make a website. Only a skill.
Since you will not be requiring a formal degree for that.
No, I've heard people who have secured jobs in IT sector without having formal education, just based on their portfolios.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Next, we have is Ananya Chaudhary, who will be presenting on the topic impact of digitalization on payments or on GST revenue, evidence from India.
Over the last decade, India has experienced a massive expansion in digital payment system, especially after policy initiatives like Digital India, demonetization, and more recent rapid growth in the UPI transactions. At the same time, GST was introduced in 2017, creating a unified indirect tax system that relies heavily on recorded transactions. Good evening, everyone. Today, I will be presenting my research titled Impact of Digitalization of Payments on GST Revenue, Evidence from India, Pre-COVID versus Post-COVID. Digital payments have transformed the way economic transactions take place in India. Government initiatives promoting a less cash economy, along with expansion of platforms such as UPI payments, have increased traceability and transparency of transactions. From a taxable perspective, this is particularly important because transparent transactions reduces tax evasions and improves compliance. The introduction of GST in 2017 further strengthens this relationship between GST, relies digitally recorded invoices and transactions across the supply chain. During the COVID-19 pandemic, digital payments increased even more due to mobility restrictions and the performance of contactless transactions. Therefore, it became important to examine whether this growing digitalization has influenced GST revenue collection in India. Objectives of the study, along with the methodology. The primary objective of the study is to empirically examine the impact of digital payment adoptions on GST revenue in India, comparing the pre-COVID period versus the post-COVID period. The analysis uses monthly time series data from April 2017 to October 2025, which provides a total of 94 observations. The data set is divided into 2 periods, the pre-COVID period, which is from July 2017 to March 2020, and the post-COVID period, which is from April 2020 to October 2025. GST revenue data and all the other components like the GSTR, the Digi volume data, the IIP data, and the imports data is collected from the respective sites. Literature review. existing literature suggests that digital financial system can significantly improve tax administration and government revenue collections. Studies by Bird and Zolt highlight that electronic transactions increase transparency, reduces tax evasion. Evidence from India also suggests that the growth of UPI and other digital payments have improved transaction visibility and tax compliance. Recent researches indicate that the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated digital payment adoption, integrating digital transactions more deeply into the formal economy. However, while these studies discuss the benefits of digitalization, direct empirical analysis linked to the digital payments to GST revenue remains limited. Which brings us to the research gap of this study. Now, despite the growing literature on digital finance, several important gaps remain there. First, most studies examine digital payments in relation to economic growth and fiscal inclusion, rather than focusing specifically on tax revenue generation. Second, many studies analyze digitalization conceptually, but empirical studies, econometric evidences linking digital payments to GST revenue is still limited. Third, previous research generally examined the overall relationship without distinguishing between the different economic time periods. In particularly, the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on digital payments payment adoption and its implication for tax revenue has not been specifically explored. Here's the data sample structure. This slide shows the structure of the data set used in the analysis, which clearly divides the pre-COVID and post-COVID periods with 30 and 64 observations respectively, as mentioned earlier. All the variables in this study are in the logarithmic form, which helps stabilize variations and allows the coefficients to be interpreted in terms of elasticity. The ARDL bond testing approach. Now, to analyze the relationship between digital payments and GST revenue, this study uses the autoregressive distribution lag model, or the ARDL model. The ARDL framework is particularly suitable for this study due to several reasons. First being that it can handle variables at different integrations, which is the integration 0 and 1. So according to my study, GSTR, DG volume, IIP are at integration level, and the imports are at 1. And for the post-COVID, GSTR is at 1 and all the other are at the level. Moving to the lag selection, the lag selection for my study has been fixed to 3 using the AIC information criteria, AIC. This means that up to 3 lag values of each variables are included in the model. The lag selection process ensures that the model captures the dynamic relationship between GST revenue and its determinants while avoiding over parameterizing. Has the bonds testing approach for pre-COVID period. Now, the table presents the results of ARDL bonds test conducted to determine whether a long-run equilibrium relationship exists between GST revenue and the lying factors in the pre-COVID period. The calculated F statistics here is 16.375, which lies way above than the base at first significance, which lies way above the required level. According to M. Hashem person, this computed F statistics exceeds the upper bound critical value. The null hypothesis of no long-run relationship is rejected. This implies that the variables are co-integrated and move together in the long run. These variables share a stable long-run equilibrium relationship despite short-term fluctuations. Here is the bonds test for post-COVID. Now, the table reports that the ARDL bonds tests for post-COVID is 2.261, which is below the required levels, which means that the absence of co-integration in the post-COVID period suggests that the structural disruptions caused by the pandemic may have weakened the long-run relationship between GST revenue and its determinants. Economic shocks, policy changes, shifts towards digital transaction during the pandemic may have temporarily altered the underlying dynamics of the tax system. Here's the long-run relationship of ARDL before COVID. Now, this table represents the long-run relationships, the results show that digital transaction volume, industrial production imports are statistically insignificant in the long run. This indicates that these variables did not have a stable long-run relationship with GST before the pandemic. This insignificant coefficient of digital transactions or volume suggests that digital payments had not yet significantly influenced GST revenue.
Sorry to interrupt you, Ananya. You'll have to wrap up.
Yeah, just a minute. Here is for the post-COVID. Now here, the relationship between digital payments and GSTR is positive and is statistically significant, showing that the digital payments have a positive impact on GSTR in the long run in post-COVID period. Here are the error correction for short-run dynamics for pre-COVID. And this is for the post-COVID short-run dynamics. These are the model fit statistics. The model fit statistics indicate that both the ARDL models demonstrate strong explanatory powers. The R-square value for pre-COVID model is 0.998, which means that there is 99.8% of variation in GST revenue is explained by independent variables. Similarly, for the post-COVID, it is 0.837, suggesting 83.7% of variation in GST revenue is explained by the model. The comparative summary of pre and post-COVID. The comparative analysis reveals that a clear structural shift between the two periods. In the pre-COVID period, GST revenue was mainly driven by its own past values. Digital payments did not show a significant influence. However, in the post-COVID period, digital transaction volume becomes a significant determinant of GST revenue. Overall, the result suggests that digitalization is becoming an increasing important factor shaping tax revenue dynamics in India. To conclude my presentation, this study examines the relationship between digital payment adoption and GST revenue in India using the ARDL approach. The findings show that before pandemic, digital payments did not significantly influence GST revenue. However, after COVID-19 pandemic, digital transaction volume became a significant factor contributing to the GST revenue growth. This highlights the role of digital financial system in improving transaction transparency, tax compliance, and fiscal capacity. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to any questions and suggestions.
Thank you, Ananya. We'll have answer and questions.
Then one question that you have concluded that digital transaction volume post-COVID has increased, right? So shall government mandatorily go for digital payments?
No, ma'am. It should not be mandatory because, yeah, it should definitely be increased, but not mandatory. Why increased? Because since it is the digital, we are digitalizing, and digitalization helps both ways to the government and to the citizens. The digitalization should definitely be increased, but not completely.
Areas? What about rural areas?
Ma'am, awareness should go, and that also I've mentioned in my policy implications, that there should be awareness and more digital spread, because then it would help better registering of GST. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananya. Next we have is Shaurya Vik. He will be presenting on the topic international crude oil price movements and their impact on the Indian rupee exchange rate and trade.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Shaurya, a BA Honors Economics student at Amity. This research examines how international crude oil price movements affect the Indian rupee exchange rate. India is one of the largest oil importing countries in the world because crude oil is traded globally in the US dollars. Fluctuations in oil prices can influence India's demand for dollars and therefore the value of the rupee. India imports more than 80% of its crude oil requirements. This makes the economy highly sensitive to international oil price fluctuations. When oil prices increase, India needs more US dollars to pay for the oil imports. This increases demand for dollars and can cause the Indian rupee to depreciate. A weaker rupee increases import costs, contributes to inflation, and can widen the current account deficit. Oil prices have been extremely volatile in the recent years. For example, prices dropped to around $20 per barrel during the COVID-19 pandemic in the year 2020, and later increased to around $120 per barrel during the Russia and Ukraine conflict in the year 2022. Previous studies have focused more on a relative stable period, which was before COVID-19 or the Russia-Ukraine war. My study focuses on the high uncertainty period, which is of COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war, which is from 2019 to 2024. Many previous studies rely on a single statistical method, which may not capture the full complexity of the relationship. The COVID-19 pandemic introduced structural breaks in the global economy that many earlier studies did not include. Another gap is the limited focus on inflation, CPI, as a mediating channel through which oil prices affect the exchange rate. The objectives of the study are to examine the oil price exchange rate relationship, test stationarity using the augmented Dickey-Fuller test, measure correlations between oil price, CPI, and exchange rate, estimating regression models, and conduct the sub-period analysis. Talking about the hypothesis, the first hypothesis is crude oil prices have a significant positive impact on the USD INR exchange rate. The second is CPI inflation has a significant positive impact on the USD INR exchange rate. The third one is the oil rupee relationship differs across pre-COVID, COVID, and the post-COVID periods. All hypotheses are tested at the 5% level of significance. Methodology and data. The study uses 72 months of monthly data from 2019 to 2024. The variables used are crude oil price, USD per barrel, USD INR exchange rate, and India's consumer price index. The augmented Dickey-Fuller test is used to test whether the data is stationary. Pearson correlation analysis is used to measure the linear relationship between the variables. Ordinary least square regression models are used to estimate the impact of oil prices and CPI on the exchange rate. A lagged regression model is also used to test whether past oil prices influence current exchange rate movements. The ADF test shows that all three variables are non-stationary at level, but become stationary after the first differencing. This means they are integrated of order 1. The Pearson correlation between oil price and USD INR is where R is equal to 0.2577 with P value equals to 0.0289, indicating a weak but statistically significant positive relationship. The correlation between CPI and USD INR is where R equals to 0.39 with P value equal to 0.0006, suggesting inflation has stronger relationship with exchange rate movements. The correlation between oil price and CPI is R equals to 0.49, indicating that higher oil prices tend to increase inflation in the country. Regression results. Model 1 of simple OLS, where USD INR equals to 75.03 plus 0.069 times the oil price. Oil price alone explains about 6.6% of the variation in the exchange rate, where R square equals to 6.6%. Model 2 is the multiple regression, where USD INR equals 152.8 plus
oil plus the CPI, including CPI increase explanatory power to R square equaling to 22.4%. The third model is the lagged oil price. Past oil prices are used to predict current exchange rate movements. The model has a R square value of 15.5%. These results suggest that oil price influence the rupee both directly and indirectly through inflation. The data set was divided into three periods: pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID. In the pre-COVID period, 2019 and early 2020, oil prices ranged around $60 to $65 per barrel, and the exchange rate was around 70 to 71 rupees. The relationship had R square of about 38%. During COVID-19 period, which is of 2020 to 2021, oil prices fell to around $20 per barrel, and the volatility increased significantly with a coefficient of variation of about 28.45%. In the post-COVID period of 2022 to 2024, oil prices increased to around $120 per barrel, and exchange rate reached about 86 per dollar. The relationship became very strong with R square around 86.2%. Moving on to the key findings. Crude oil prices have statistically significant positive relationship with the USD INR exchange rate. CPI is a stronger predictor of exchange rate movements than oil prices alone. Including CPI increases the explanatory power of the regression model from 6.6% to 22.4%. The oil rupee relationship is regime dependent, which is a relationship.
You'll have to wrap up soon. It's 7 minutes.
Relationship between variables changes under different economic conditions or periods. Lagged oil prices also influence the exchange rate, suggesting a delayed transmission effect. The study concludes that global crude oil price movements significantly influence the Indian rupee. Inflation acts as an important transmission channel linking oil prices and exchange rates. The strength of this relationship varies across different economic conditions. Policy recommendations include monitoring oil price trends in monetary policy decisions, expanding renewable energy investments to reduce oil dependence, strengthening strategic petroleum reserves, and encouraging hedging and strategies for businesses. Thank you, everyone.
We'll now have question and answer. Thank you.
With this, we come to the conclusion of the presentation and under track 2, IKS-enabled digital finance and accounting, inclusion, sustainability, and transparency. The presentation today have provided valuable insight into how indigenous knowledge system and modern digital financial framework can together promote financial inclusion, transparency, and sustainable development. I now request our esteemed chair, Dr. Balraj, to kindly share his valuable remarks and reflection on the presentation.
We'll also have first we'll have Dr. Balraj Verma's words.
Shreya just mentioned one thing, that you have to leave for some reason.
He had to leave the meeting because of his prior commitments, but he did send us his words so that we could tell it to our participants and everybody attending track 2.
One of your sessions here, I want to participants here. One of your sessions here, I want to congratulate all the participants who have presented their paper today in this technical session. So, one is the way committee faculty, are grooming their students, because not only they have the conceptual clarity about the topic which they are presenting, but also they understand the technical or technicality behind it. That was the best part. And the other presenter also from different universities and colleges, they have also presented their topic well, and accordingly we have assigned the marks and all the very best, and the best presenter and the best candidate must win. All the very best, and thanks from my side.
Thank you, Dr. Balraj.
Now, now I would like to invite Dr. Ila Chaturvedi to share her concluding remarks and the reflection on the today's session.
Congratulations to the entire organizing committee, first of all the participants and all the audience who have, heard each and everything very patiently without making any noise. Right? So that was all good. And that's a lot.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your thoughtful insights. Now, I would like to invite
Our conference convener, Dr. Sidana,
and head of institution.
We will now proceed with announcing the best paper award, which has been selected by our esteemed panelists based on presentations in this session. May I request Dr. Ila Chaturvedi to come forward and present this paper?
She is Anya Jain.
With
Anya Jain
Anya,
has presented her paper on Anya Jain. Anya Jain.
I believe she's not present here. Yes, I'm calling her. She
Online? She presented her paper on physical climate risk and FDI in South and Southeast Asia.
Now, I would like to invite head of our institution, Dr. Kavita Indrapukar, conference convener, Dr. Neeru Sidana, and our faculty coordinator, Dr. Rochna Arora, to present our esteemed guest with a token of appreciation.
मतलब हमारे पास है क्या? This enlightening session. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our respected founder president, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, Chancellor Dr. Atul Chauhan, and Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Balwinder Shukla for their visionary leadership, continuous support in organizing such meaningful academic platforms. I extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed session chair, Dr. Balraj and Dr. Ila Chaturvedi, for their valuable insights, guidance, and encouragement throughout this session. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to our track coordinator, Dr. Rochna Arora, for her constant guidance, support, and encouragement throughout the session. I would also like to appreciate all the presenters for their insightful research contribution and engaging discussions that enriched today's track. Special thank you to the organizing committee, faculty members, and support staff for their dedication and hard work in ensuring the smooth conduct of this conference. Finally, I thank our audience and participants for their active engagement and enthusiasm. With this, we can track toward the conference. Thank you all and have a wonderful day. You can enjoy your high tea.